All right. So before I get started, did anyone have any questions from last week's assignment? Any questions via email? I can go over those just so to see if anyone had the same questions. If not, then I can just move forward. It was Carlos, right? That one with that anime picture was Carlos.
The UMR or
Yeah. Let's see. So questions. I had mainly questions from one person. That person knows who I'm talking about. Um, did anyone have problems with their title block, or did anyone even attempt to put their title block? I haven't looked at your assignments. Usually, I don't look at them till this evening, if not tomorrow. Um, but I had questions over title block, which I'm going to go over in a little bit. I had questions over, let's see, what else was it? Okay. So your assignment, what you were supposed to turn in yesterday um, was just the site plan. Ideally, it should have looked something like this. If you guys can see my screen,
Mm-hmm.
it should have looked something remotely to that. Obviously, I'm missing my north arrow. I haven't put that in yet, but should have something remotely close to that. I know some of you guys were trying to put the title block already. I'll show you guys how to do that right now in a little bit. um, uh, okay, you had a question on text sizes. That is dependent on what I'm about to show you right now. Um, that was from my other class. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. All right, that was mainly it. Something. The other thing was scaling, where you're trying to set up your text via with annotations, and it was messing with the scale. Did anyone have any questions other than that? Did anyone have any questions on what they did, reasons why, anything? You can either say it or put it in the chat. No?
Sir, is it regarding your uh, on the dimensions in text
Okay.
with the it says with the street curves and the cement? I use the I did not use dimension. I used the text, so the color is white.
Yeah, so with the text, yeah, you can use. When I was doing this, I used the anodims. Um, I do need to change my text to the actual text. I just tried keeping it to the civil since it was a civil. It is a civil drawing. If you did it under the architectural text, that is fine as well. That's not that big of a deal. So if you use
Oh,
architectural anno notes, that's fine. Yeah, I believe they're
and
gonna just to print out the same anyways. It will print out the same thickness anyways. It's just the color that it represents on the screen.
oh, sure. And for the assignment also for my setback of 25, I did not edit the lines.
You didn't put the lines?
I did, but I did not trim it from the sides.
Oh, okay. Um, So yeah, just for future, just go through and trim that out.
Okay. That's it.
All right. So the next thing, if that's all the questions, the next thing we would be going over is moving into Unit 4. So let me pull over here. Moodle. Unit 4 would be actually starting our floor plan already. All right, so let me go in and pull out the PowerPoint. This is probably the most important PowerPoint in this chapter or in this unit. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to go over getting started with, well, I'm gonna go over section cuts. I'm gonna explain section cuts just so that you know so you understand what's going on. And then I'm going to show you guys how to start drawing your house in AutoCAD. Did you guys get the chance to start drawing in AutoCAD last semester using doing the residential, or you guys didn't get that far?
We
We
started.
Yeah, we started, but we didn't get the chance to because of COVID.
Yeah, we.
started?
Our teacher
Okay.
was cool.
She was.
Okay. So if she got you guys started, this piece that I'm gonna go over with you guys is gonna be very I guess it's gonna seem very repetitive since you already heard it, but I'm pretty sure she only went over how to do a brick exterior. So I'm gonna go over different type of section cuts and then then I'm gonna actually put together a piece of a house, just so you guys can get started with your planning. And then afterwards, I'm gonna go in and do a piece of this PowerPoint here, because this is a really lengthy PowerPoint. It's a 24 slide PowerPoint, and there's a lot of information in there. So I don't wanna throw you with a bunch of verbiage first and then leave you with nothing, with no way to start drawing. Only because I don't know how far you guys got with whoever you were taking the class with last semester. So depending on if you took myself, Miss Perales, or Miss De Leon, depends on how far you got in the class. And I just want to start from scratch just so you guys know what you guys are doing. And then you can look at the PowerPoint on your free time, and I'll go over the PowerPoint depending on how much time we have left today, and then finish it off next time we meet. All right, does that sound good?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
All right, so I'm going to, why are you not working with me? I'm going to switch screens. Stop presenting. Present screen 2. All right, do you guys see an all white screen? Yes.
Yes.
All right, so what I want to do here is I want to go over exterior wall sections. Well, different types of wall sections, specifically focusing more on the exterior side, but we will go over the interior. I'm not going to do the full wall section. I'm going to do from the foundation to maybe about halfway up the wall, just because that's what's imperative to you, so that you can start working on your floor plan. Since when you draw floor plans, you work from the floor up. Once we get to the ceilings and roofs, once we get to the roof area, I'll go in and finish off or continue the rest of that drawing, so that you guys could see how it looks in full scale. But I'm just gonna be focusing on the bottom portions, just so you guys can get enough information to get started. And I don't want to overwhelm you with a lot of stuff when I only need you to focus on the bottom part. All right. So let's see. So for the first thing I want to cover would be the exterior wall for a brick. So for an exterior wall with a brick, you're going to have your foundation. Whoops. I'm not used to using this thing that much, so. All right, it's the best I can do. So this here is going to be your foundation. All right, I'll go over foundations when we get to the actual foundation part, but you do need to know how the foundation supports the wall, so therefore you need to see it. So that would be our foundation. And then whenever you start a house, if you've ever seen that house during construction, you start with the foundation and then work your way up. After the foundation has been poured, you have your foundation and you have this little gap here, this little notch. This notch here is going to be a 1.5 inch. And I'm gonna pull this down this way with a different color, just so you guys can see it. And this is going to be 5.5 inches. All right. Now looking at those two numbers, what does that kind of remind you of? The 1.5 and the 5.5? Anybody? Crickets?
Is it the 2x6 and the 2x4?
Yes, sir. It reminds you of the 2x6. A 2x6 is a 1.5 by 5.5. So what's happening when they pour your foundation is they dig out the trenches, and at the top, when you're using brick, they're going to put a 2x6 at the top, and they're going to pour concrete in with the rebar, and it's going to pour up and around and hopefully flush with it, so that when it's done, they knock that piece off and you have that little seat there. All right. And that seat comes into play very much when it comes into supporting our brick, which we'll be getting to right now in a little bit. Now they can use a 2x4 or 2x6, depending on whatever the 2x that they use will depend on the seat that they need. Brick is usually brick and CMU. You don't know what CMU is. We'll get into that when you get into the higher semesters, being commercial and stuff like that. But brick and CMU are the widest type of exterior that needs to be supported. Therefore, you have to have a bigger brick ledge. Something like stone doesn't have that much thickness. It's fairly thin, so you don't need as big of a brick ledge. In this case, we are using brick for this section cut, so we have a pretty big brick ledge. And even at that, it's kind of bigger skewed compared to the drawing because, well, it's just me and my bad handwriting. If I wanted to make it more accurate, it would be more like that. And then this outer dimension here is going to be 12. Let me stick to blue for my dimensions. This dimension is going to be typically 12 inches to 24 inches. Can be bigger, but typically it's between 12 and 24 inches. They usually try and keep it at the 6s, so 12, 18, 24. In this case, we will be using 12. All right, but do know that they can go bigger and they can go smaller. This here is going to be the slab. This is the actual portion of the foundation that you actually put your flooring on, and that's the part you actually stand on. And that can be anywhere from 4 inches to be honest, it can be as thick as 8 inches, but in residential, it probably never goes more than 6. All right, so between 4 and 6 inches. And it just depends on the soil and stuff like that that you would be building on. So it depends on your location on Earth. Whatever type of soil, whatever type of dirt they have there, whether it's dirt, sand, combination, clay, whatever the case may be, will dictate how thick you need to make that flooring, and also how thick you need to make this area and how thick you need to make this area. These two numbers depend heavily on your soil and how much the structure you're putting on it weighs. All right. So once we got that, what's the next thing that would go up after your foundation? Usually after they pour your concrete, what's the next thing that they start putting up? Okay, so the next thing they will start putting up would be your walls or your 2x. So what they're going to do is they're going to start with what's called a sill plate. All right. This sill plate here is going to be, it's going to be a 2x4. In this case, it's going to be a regular wall. 2x4 sill plate. All right. It's kind of hard to write vertically on this thing. All right, so it's a 2x4 sill plate, and that's going to be at the very base. All right. Now this thing is being anchored down, but I'm not going to draw the anchor just to keep it kind of clear. We'll show the anchor when we actually go into the foundation side. In the future. Right now, we'll just leave the 2x4 sill plate. After the sill plate, we go up with our 2x4 stud. All right. So here we're going to have a 2x4 wood stud. And this wood stud is going to be basically the main part of your wall. That's going to be the actual wall that you use to hang to attach your sheetrock to, and to attach like pictures and all that stuff. That's the wood you're looking for when you're nailing stuff to hang onto your walls. The 2x4 wood stud. All right. So we have our 2x4 wood stud. And then every once in a while, depending on the actual room, you'll have what's known as a blocking. So this were to continue up. All right. We have a 2x4 blocking. Now, what this blocking is basically doing is it's essentially acting as a horizontal support. If you think about it, the best way to put it is if you had a pole standing, if you had 2 poles standing, and so if you had 2 poles standing, and someone came, the wind came, or someone came and pushed it this way, they're going to topple over, correct? 90% of the time or 100% of the time, yes. So what that blocking is doing is you're putting a horizontal piece connecting them, so you're nailing this together so that when the wind comes to hit it, or when something comes to hit it, it's braced and they're supporting each other. So it's gonna be a lot harder to knock it down. All right. That's probably the easiest way to explain what's going on here. All right, so we have our sill plate, we have our 2x wood stud, we have our 2x blocking. All right, after our blocking, we're going to have some additional things on here. We'll have, all right, what, have you guys ever seen construction going on? Does anyone have any construction experience? Does anyone know what would go on after your 2x? Would we work on the outside or would we work on the inside? What would be common sense?
Double.
So
That sounds more like a question than it does an answer.
I know, I'm not so sure. I would feel like the outside because you want to be able to, I don't know, make sure
Your wood. Make
Yeah,
sure you get rod.
you guys are correct. So once they put up the 2x, typically what's going to happen is they're going to start working on the outside to protect the wood that they put up. They don't want it to be raining and stuff like that and mess up the wood. So what happens is they go in, they put up the wood studs, they frame out the roof. Obviously, during construction, they frame out the roof. Then they put out the exterior. And then once they finish the exterior, that's when they go inside and they start putting wiring and insulation and sheetrock and all that stuff. Because imagine if you put that stuff without putting the outside first and then it rained. It kind of defeats the purpose, right? You have to go back and do it all over again. So it makes sense you do the outside first and then the inside. So with that being said, we are going to have a little thin piece right here. I'm gonna point to this with the red. All right, right there. This one goes there, there, and there. So that piece is going to be a 1/2 inch continuous. Hold on. Why am I writing lowercase? A 1/2 inch continuous membrane. Wow, that's horrible. All right. Now I'm second guessing my spelling.
You're good. That's right.
No, yeah, I think it's right. Once again, guys, not the best speller in the world. I didn't go to class to be an English teacher. So we have a 1/2 inch continuous membrane. Now, actually, it's not a membrane. That's why I was second guessing myself. It's a 1/2 inch continuous sheathing. All right. So what's going on is after you've put up your wood studs, I don't know if you guys can see me in the camera. After you guys put up your wood studs, they're going to put a plywood or some type of board. Typically in these cases, it'll be a 1/2 inch plywood or a 1/4 inch or 3/8 plywood going across. And then on top of that, they're going to nail in that membrane. All right, so the 1/2 inch plywood going across is just to have a better nailing pattern. And for when they put that continuous membrane, and that membrane is basically a vapor barrier. All right, so what that is, imagine the best way to explain a vapor barrier is imagine you're wearing an Under Armour, all right, whether it's a shirt or whatever the case may be, you're wearing an Under Armour or some type of moisture wicking shirt, right? You're exercising, wherever the case, you're sweating. The point of that shirt or the point of that Under Armour or whatever the brand it is to pull off the moisture from your body, to basically wick it away. That way it doesn't stay there. That's what's going on here. It has a vapor barrier, so when water hits it, it protects the wood that's behind it. In this case, you might be thinking, well, why would there be wood? Why would there be water there if I have a brick covering it? Well, same thing that happens to a Coke when you put it outside, a cold Coke and put it outside. What happens to it? It condensates, right? So it starts to condensate. It starts to essentially sweat. So same thing with a house. It's cold on the inside, hot on the outside. The brick condensates, the house condensates, or vice versa. If it's cold on the outside and hot on the inside, condensation occurs. And so when the brick is causing condensation, you have water running down. Don't get me wrong, it's not a lot of water, but if you have water running down, and this membrane protects the water from being absorbed by the wood, or protects the wood from absorbing the water. Because after years of absorbing that water, your wood will eventually go bad and rot. So that is why they put that membrane there. So in reality, there would be a really thin line there, but it wouldn't be visible. So I'm just gonna try and draw over it or next to it in green. And that green there, let's see if I can point to it with the red, is going to be, the thickness varies depending on the construction people. Typically, I don't put a specific size. I leave that to the construction person. But the smallest you can probably go is going to be a 6 mil polyurethane as you guys can see, I don't use this thing that much. A 6 mil polyurethane vapor barrier. All right. No. All right, that's good enough. Not I'll be there for hours trying to get it perfect. So a 6 mil polyurethane vapor barrier. All right. Or if you don't want to be specific, you can just say continuous sheathing. All right, both ways work. All right, and if you notice right here, that 1/2 inch hangs over into this seat area. All right, I tried to draw it as best I could, but this 1/2 inch and this membrane hang into this little seat area. And this seat area is called a brick ledge. All right. Now, from here, we can actually put in our brick. Now, this brick can be anywhere between an inch and a half. Well, yeah, about 2 inches to about 4 inches. All right, it really just depends. But the overall thickness of this wall would be what distance? Can anyone figure that out? while you guys are trying to figure that out, I'm gonna come in and put in some squigglies, and these squigglies are gonna represent my insulation. Let's go R19.
Okay, so this is for brick.
Huh?
You said this is a wall for brick.
That insulation. What was the question?
Is this wall for brick?
Yes, it's for brick.
So in total, it's gonna be like 8 inches, 8 or 9 inches.
It'll be more than both. So if you
All
remember,
right.
if you remember, you have your 5.5 inch right here. Inside this 5.5 inch, you have your brick. You have a 1/2 inch air gap for the water to run down. And if for whatever reason the water does fall off, it hits that membrane and this plywood that are also inside this 5.5 inch. All right. So you have 5.5 inch plus whatever thickness of this 2x4. All right. So what's the thickness of my 2x4?
$3.5.
The thickness of this 2x4 is 3.5, yes. And then this last piece that I'm adding is going to be 1/2 inch gypsum board, otherwise known as your sheetrock. So you have 5.5 plus 3.5. What's that already? So I have right here if I have right here a five and a half, a 3.5, and a 0.5. What is that overall distance?
9.5.
It'll be 9.5. All right. Does that make sense? Is there anybody that's lost here? All right. And the reason I bring this up and the reason I draw this, because the most important part is going to be this line, and that line. These 3 lines that I highlighted in yellow are going to be the most imperative parts when it comes to drawing your floor plan along the exterior. All right. Now, if a regular standard wall, this is a standard brick wall, what would my plumbing wall thickness be? What would my plumbing thickness be? So, what would my plumbing wall be?
It's like 6 inches. Works with 6.
6.5.
You guys aren't listening. You guys aren't even letting me finish. What's my brick plumbing wall gonna be? So my question to you is, if a standard brick, what's the difference? First question, what is the difference between, let's just talk regular wood. We talked about this last time. What is the difference between a plumbing wall and a standard wall? Doesn't matter if it's brick or exterior.
Yeah, for the plumbing wall, we use the 2
The thickness.
Okay, what's the thickness for a regular wall?
regular wall. The thickness is
3.5.
plus the sheeting.
Or-
Well, just talking about the stud, just talking about the stud by itself.
Just the regular 2x4. It's a 3.5.
Yep. So the regular stud is going to be 3.5, right?
Yes.
What is the plumbing stud?
It's 2x6. So it's 5 by 5.5.
So it's going to be 5.5, right?
Yes.
So my question to you is, if this area here is a regular standard wall, if I wanted to make this standard wall into a plumbing wall, instead of a standard brick into a plumbing brick, what would my thickness be? And what is changing?
It's 11.5.
It would be 11.5. Does anyone see where we're getting 11.5 from? Does anyone not see where we're getting 11.5 from? All we did was swap these two numbers. Instead of a 3.5, we put an 5.5. That raise in 2 inches causes this to raise 2 inches. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Is there anyone that does not make sense to? Because this is going to be very important for getting started on your floor plans. All right, I'll take your silence as everybody understands. So wow. I wish I had an undo button. So if there's no questions on the standard wall, then there's no questions on the plumbing brick wall. So on the plumbing and standard brick walls, you guys are good. So what I want to do now is
I just have a clarification regarding the plumbing.
okay.
So is if we're gonna do the sidings of the bathrooms, are we going to do the whole side, the whole portions of the bathrooms to be 11.5 thickness, or just the portion that's where the plumbing goes through?
Just the portion. Well, it depends. It depends on how your wall is set up. And there's different scenarios, and we'll go over those scenarios when we get to the actual CAD part. But it honestly depends, because it depends on if there's any other walls that are interacting with that wall. And I'll show you what I mean when we get to the AutoCAD. I just realized we're already running out of time. So I'm gonna get one more section here, that one's gonna kind of get sped up because we already gone over the majority of this. But we'll go over that right now when we get to the AutoCAD part. And typically, you're only gonna have it where you have your plumbing, wherever you have stuff like that. But like I said, it depends on how your walls are set up. And I'll show you what I mean when we get to AutoCAD. Okay?
Copy.
All right, so now for this one, I'm gonna do another foundation. Now, if you notice on this one does not have a brick ledge. All right. This one is going to be for both stone, well, the glue on stone, stucco, siding, or yeah, so glue on stucco, glue on stone, stucco, or siding. All right. Will be all very similar. So we have our foundation. Once we have our foundation, we have our sill plate. Then we have our wood stud. Once again, I'm not gonna go too far into detail on this side. I'm not gonna label everything because it's basically the same labeling on top. You have your sill plate, you have your stud. Now, if we're doing stucco here, we're going to have, oh man, can I undo that? Control Z. Oh, it does work. So we're going to have a slight overhang. Oh, what did I just do? That's cool. Either way, this piece here is going to be a 1/2 inch continue, almost misspelled it again. I just noticed I went from uppercase to lowercase. Not the point right now, we're running out of time. So 1/2 inch continuous sheathing. So that sheathing, once again, it could be plywood, it could be hardy board, it could be whatever material the contractor wants to use. You just say, hey, it needs to be 1/2 inch thick. And then on top of that, we're going to have, in this case, we're going to have our stucco. All right, and if you notice, our stucco right here overhangs our foundation. And this stucco, we'll say, is 1 inch. So if this is a regular standard stucco wall, so this is a standard wall for stucco, what is this thickness? Looking at the numbers we have here. I forgot my 1/2 inch plywood. My 1/2 inch jet board. Anybody? Board. Me.
5.5.
Yes, it would be 5.5. We have our 3.5 plus 1 is 4.5. Half plus half is 5.5. So for a standard stucco wall, it is 5.5 inches thick. And the important parts are going to be this wall, this line, and this line. Can I change this color? Yes, I can. Look at that. So this one, and this one are going to be your most important lines. All right. You see how your most important lines shifted? Here, it was edge of foundation, edge of ledge, and inner part of the wall. Now it's inner part of the wall, edge of foundation, and the exterior part of the wall. How that depends. So depending on which type of wall you're designing, you're gonna have different styles you're going to need. All right. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. So if a standard wall is 5.5, how much is my plumbing? My plumbing stucco, in this case, this wall here that we just drew, but for plumbing.
About 7.5.
It would be 7.5. Once again, just like in this one, all you're doing is adding 2 inches because you're making the wood stud 2 inches bigger. All right. Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right. Let's see. So this wall here, I did it as if it was for stucco, but you can easily swap this out for wood siding. So if you were going to be doing stucco, it could be, I don't want to confuse anybody, but this could be stucco. And if it was stucco, we're going to go with 1 inch. It could be a 1/2 inch siding. So obviously if it's a 1/2 inch siding, the drawing essentially looks the same. What changes is the thickness and this number. All right. And then if you were going to do glue on stone or glue on stone, that could be, depending on the type of stone you use, could be an 1.5 inches to, I wouldn't glue on more than 2 inches worth of wall, to be honest. If you're going to be gluing on, and usually it's smaller than that. I don't think I've ever seen it get that big for glue on stone. Usually it's a pretty thin sheet. All right. So depending on what you're putting, here, that's not visible. Let's see. Depending on what you're putting here will dictate this number. So this number is dependent on this number, and that is dependent on what type of exterior you're using here. And once again, the drawing here looks exactly the same The only difference is how thick this line is, that label, and that number. All right? Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, before I move any further, before I move into the interior walls, is there anyone that does not get what we just went over? All right, I'm gonna take your silence as you on.
Hey, hold on.
Okay,
On the plumbing, you guys said it was 7.5, right?
yes.
How did you get the 7.5? Because I'm doing it myself, but I keep getting 7, not 7.5.
Okay, so if you have this piece, so we have 1 inch of stucco,
Uh-huh.
right? We have 1/2 inch of the plywood or the sheathing. All right, so that's this number. We have 1/2 inch of gypboard. And then I'm gonna do this one first just to verify that that number is correct. Then we have 3.5 of stud,
Mhm.
right? We have half, that one, that one, that one. So if we do it right away, we can tell that this number, we have half, half, and half. That's 0.5 there. Rise 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? So
Yeah.
that's your half. Now
Okay.
we got this and we did 1, 0.5, 0.5, and 5.5. We have 5, 1, 5, 6, 7.
7. Okay. I get it.
All right?
Uh-huh. All right. I got it.
No, I don't want to delete everything. All right. Oh, look, there's an undo button right there. I should have seen it. So then, is there any other questions on the exterior? Now you do have the possibility of combining these two, where you would have like beginning brick, and then at a certain point it cuts, and then it turns into the other one, and that's just combining these two. If you're going to be doing something like that, we can go over that next time when we have a little bit more time. But now for the interior wall. So for the interior wall, we have an interior foundation. All right. On that interior foundation, we're going to go in and we're going to add in our sill plate. All right. Will it always be over a beam? No, it won't, but we just put the beam there just in case. All right. So we have our wood stud and we have our sill plate, correct? After that, we're going to come in with sheetrock on both sides. So with this, we have our 2x4 wood stud. We have our 1/2 inch gypsum board. And then right here is our sill plate. So with all that being said, what is the thickness for this standard interior wall?
Four and a half.
4.5.
It would be 4.5 because we have 5 plus 0.5 plus 3.5. So you bring down the 0.5, carry the 1, 4.5. All right. And once again, this is for a standard interior wall. All right. Now, what would it be if it was a plumbing wall? Vita looks exactly the same, obviously, except for this number here. But the down here, all the black and red looks exactly the same. What would my plumbing wall thickness be?
6.5.
It would be 6.5.
Yep, it would be 0.5 plus 0.5 plus 5.5, 0.5, 1, 6.5. And the only difference is this number turns into a 2x6 instead of a 2x4. Same thing here, here, anywhere you see a 4, it will turn into a 6. All right. On these walls, the most important part to remember is going to be the actual sheet. All right. Does anyone have any questions on this? I tried to break it down as simple as possible. No?
Nah.
All right.
Yes.
Slowly go.
Wait, yes, you do have questions, or no, you don't have questions?
No, I don't have questions.
Okay. So now I'm going to stop sharing here, and I'm going to jump onto AutoCAD. So let me switch screens. Go to the main screen, share, bring up AutoCAD, hide this. So, like I said last time, we have our floor plan. We have our site plan because we needed to know these boundaries. These boundaries limit the size, the amount of space we can use. It limits how far side to side and how far front to back we can go. How you design your house, whether you make it an L shape, a U shape, a C shape, a J shape, a K shape, a square, a rectangle, a triangle, whatever shape you make, it does not matter as long as it fits inside this rectangle. Just do know whatever odd shapes you make, you will suffer the consequences when you get to your roof. Just fair warning. So with that being said, I'm going to use this as my guide to go ahead and make my floor plan. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this box out. All right. So I'm going to copy this box out. So that box has to be drawn correctly. I'm going to copy it out, and I'm going to use this to draw my house. All right. That way I know wherever I move this, it'll be stick together. I joined it. So here, I know that I want to design a house, and I'm just gonna start making up some sizes real quick. All right, so let me switch to my architectural layers just so I can get started. Let's see. We have our wall exterior, so line. So I'm gonna draw a line I'm just gonna draw a line here and here. Just I'm gonna start from the left from this corner, and I'll use those two lines to make the rest of everything else. So I'm gonna make the front of my house. Let's make the front of my house. Somebody give me an exterior type.
Brick.
Brick. All right. So I'm gonna make the front of my house brick, and I will.
Never mind, cedar.
Huh? You say cedar?
Yeah, cedar.
So wood. Siding.
No, pine.
It's a siding. Point is, it's a siding. All right. So I'm gonna do a. All right. So on the sidings. Okay. So I will do my front siding, but I'm gonna start on the side, and that side will be brick, and I'm gonna choose that side first on purpose because there's gonna be some different scenarios that pop up. All right. So I'm gonna start with brick on my side, and then I'm gonna do the front being the siding. So I'm gonna offset my brick. Remember on that other drawing, let me see if I can pull that this way. Let's see, go here, pull in this one. Do kind of a side by side. No, what am I doing? All right, this is what I wanna look at right here. Give me some more space here. All right. So if you remember, we have that 5.5. You guys are still there, right? I didn't close the window.
Maybe.
All right, no, it's because the window minimized on my side. So it's like, oh, I lost them all. All right. So if you remember, these three lines highlighted in yellow are the most important lines right here. So I'm gonna start with this exterior because I'm starting on the outside. So I'm going to offset 5.5 first. So 5.5 inches. All right, doesn't look relatively small. And then I'm going to offset. So now I have these two lines. From this line to this line is going to be how thick? From this yellow line to this yellow line. From this, 4, right? I'm gonna offset 4. All right, so this is my exterior wall on this side. All right. Now that we have that, I'm gonna come over here and notice the difference. I don't know if you noticed the difference over here, but on this one, if you remember, I told you guys that this box here is the limit you can build your house. Now, that is true in a sense, but what's more important is that's your limit of your foundation. Your foundation cannot pass that line. Foundation being this line here and this line here. All right. Now, if you notice here, our stucco and our siding and all that go past the foundation, right? Yes, I want a verification before I move forward.
Yes.
Yes.
Don't scream at me. All right, so because of that, this line here, let me see if it lets me do it with my mouse. No, it does not. So this line here is going to be this line right here. So I have 1 inch. Well, I'm going to do wood siding, right? So wood siding, we said 1/2 inch. So 1/2 inch plus 1/2 inch is going to be 1. All right, nobody's lost on that, right? We're going to offset 1 inch forward. And then I'm going to offset my 3.5 plus 1/2. So I'm going to offset 4 in. So where these two lines meet, is going to be my wood studs and my sheetrock. And then this is where my brick is going to stop and my siding is going to overpower it. All right, does that make sense? Because if not, you'll have a situation where your brick's still visible and then your wood stops at it and you'll have all wood and a little sliver of brick. You don't want that. You want the brick to be behind the wood, right? Yes?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes.
Alright. So this is the beginnings of my house. Now, let's say I want this to be a garage. I know by common sense, being me, that a decent sized 2-car garage would be a, let's go 20 feet this way, and let's go 22 feet back. That's a very big garage. All right, where these two lines meet, this is the inside of my sheetrock. This would be the inside of my room. All right,
My truck wouldn't fit in there, Mark.
well, you can park it outside. All right, so we have an interior wall. So my question to you, once we have our garage, what do we want to put behind the garage? Do we want to put a bedroom? Do we want to put a kitchen? Talk to me. What do we want to put there?
Laundry.
Laundry. So utility room. All right. A utility room. Utility room typically is about a 6x6, depending on the size. So I'm gonna do a regular wall, offset it here. So it's gonna be a regular interior wall of 4.5. All right, we got that number from right here, 4.5. And then I'm going to offset, let's go 6 feet. I'll have my laundry and stuff back here. I'm gonna offset another, and then here. So I might have some plumbing coming through this wall, correct? So this is where that situation you were talking about, Novelio. So this is a laundry room. I'm gonna trim this wall here. And what I'm gonna do instead is I'm gonna offset my, instead of 4 inches, I'm gonna offset 6 inches. So this wall is a little bit thicker because I might have some plumbing lines there. All right.
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then I'm gonna offset 4.5 again. Offset 4.5 again. And the wall goes back to normal. So the wall comes in, the wood gets thicker, keeps going. And then once that room finishes, it goes back thinner. But because it stops and starts within the same room. All right. Now let's say this is, we're gonna make this big. Let's go 8 feet. All right, offset 4.5. And then we're gonna trim off these little connections here. And for right now, it's gonna end like this. All right, what do we wanna put right here? This would obviously have to be a hallway of some sorts. What do we want to put right here? A kitchen, a bedroom? Kitchen?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to do kitchen. Kitchens, let's do a big kitchen. Let's do, well, not a big kitchen. Let's do a decent sized kitchen. Let's go 15 feet up. And let's line it up with the, garage. So let's see, this was what? That was 20, so we're gonna offset 20. So we're gonna go here, here, all right? This wall needs to keep coming out, so I'm gonna offset it 4.5, 4.5. And I haven't even started figuring out if this is gonna be open floor plan or closed floor plan. I'm just drawing my walls for now. If it ends up that I wanted it to be open floor plan, well, then I just knock off these walls. All right. Now, let's say I end it there. I'm gonna turn my wall here. So what do we want this back part to be? Do we want this exterior to be brick continued, or do we want it to be something else?
Brick.
Brick again. All right, so now that I'm on the inside, I gotta work my brick out. So I'm gonna go by 4. All right, remember where I'm getting that 4 from. People always get this number and these numbers confused. This is the 3.5 and the 5 and the 0.5, and then my 5.5. So that gets cut there, that gets cut there, and that gets cut there. All right. So that's the start of my house. I started it already. I'm gonna start working my way this way. I'm gonna turn this corner right here. So I'm gonna go offset 4, and then offset 1. That's gonna close right there. That's gonna close right there. That's gonna close right there. So this is gonna turn back, and then right here, about halfway, I'm gonna start drawing I like to extend it all the way just so I know that it goes all the way. And here will be my entry. All right, so I'm gonna do an entry. We said we wanted to do wood along the front, so I'm gonna offset 1 again. Let me go ahead and connect these, and then offset my 4. All right, now it's imperative that you guys see this. All right, you see where this piece of wall will be on the inside, right here? Once it gets past this line, that's the inside, right? So what I need to do is I need to trim this back, and then from here, offset my 4.5. And you see how the lines don't line up? That's gonna happen because the wood lines up. The problem is this little 1/2 inch is your sheetrock. So you guys need to be very careful with that, all right? All right, so now that we have that, we can connect these corners. And then, let's see. I can just do a little entry right here. I'll do a little 6 foot by 5 foot entry. So there's gonna be no walls on this corner. And then I'm gonna do a column. And let's do, columns look good. The smallest you can go in a column, I wouldn't go smaller than a 10 by 10 or smaller than an 8 by 8. But I like to do 12 by 12s. Me personally, so I'm gonna have a little column there. All right. Here I have my foyer. So I need to offset the same thickness as my interior. So I'm gonna go, let's go 6 feet. Just so it kind of lines up here. I'm gonna do a regular wall, only because I already know my kitchen's over there. Let me trim this out. I don't think I need that section anymore, so I can trim that little piece out. And then I'm gonna offset up 6 feet. I'm gonna make this 6 by 6. And right now I'm just making up numbers just to all right, so this will go here, here, trim that there. And you can see how my house is starting to get put together slowly but surely. All right. This can be a dining room and a living room, one big area. I can probably say, you know what, I'm gonna go 15 feet this way. And I'm gonna run this up all the way up to this corner. All right. So this is gonna be like a living room, dining room area, one big rec room. Once again, right here, I'm just showing you guys the design side. I'm not really sticking to the 25,000. I'm just drawing just so you guys can see it by being pieced together. But I can imagine all of this being maybe the living room or the family room where guests are gonna hang out and everybody, and then this will be a big dining room, or vice versa. You know, there's different scenarios you can set up. I did decide that I wanted to be open floor plan, so I'm gonna cut this off and cut this off, so it's just one giant room. If anything, I will just have a little mini wall here. All right. So over here, I can start piecing together my bedrooms. Can do an offset of, let's say, a kid's bedroom. Let's go 10 by 10 kid's bedroom. That's not big and not small. All right. Well, hold on. I need to offset my wall 4.5. Trim out that little piece. It's imperative you guys trim those pieces out because you'll be hatching this all at once. So offset 10 feet one way, 10 feet another. That gets connected. All right. From here, what we can do is I need a hallway. For hallways, you usually don't want to go more than 5 feet. 4 foot, 3 feet is probably the smallest you'll want to go. 4 foot is pretty good. That allows for a person to walk in sideways and someone in a wheelchair. 5 feet allows for a wheelchair and someone to walk normally. But I recommend not going more than 4 feet. Don't go more than 5 feet for sure, but try to stick to 4 feet. Mainly because you create a big waste of space when it comes to square footage if you make really, really big hallways. All right. And then houses, square footage is important. All right. So I can cut this one up here. This will be the beginnings of a hallway. I can do 4.5 this way, and check this out. I'm gonna do 6 feet offset. Oh, that's big. Offset 5 feet instead. This is really 10 by 10. Okay, let's make this bigger. Let's go 12. So let's go 2 more feet. All right. Put a wall in the middle, and I'm just gonna offset that 2.5, that 4.5 on each side. So 4.5 divided by 2 is 2.25. Gonna go both ways so it's even. Close that off right there. All right. So that allows me to put a restroom right here. So I'm gonna go 6.5. Offset 4.5 here. Does anyone have any questions as I'm doing this?
Nah.
All right, are you sure?
Sure.
Yeah, I can always bother you later and ask.
That's true.
Will you accept 3 feet
What was that?
for the hallways? Will you accept 3 feet, or would you prefer 4?
I would prefer a 4 to be honest, but like I said, the smallest I would allow you to go is 3. And that gets really tight, especially when you're trying to move furniture and stuff like that. Usually you want to stick to 3.5 to 4 feet. All right, so I put a plumbing wall right here. You can see where it's thin and then it gets thicker. And I'm gonna put another one on this side only because I don't know how I'm gonna lay out my restroom yet. But this is gonna be a Jack and Jill restroom where they're both gonna be able to access it from their bedrooms. Oh, I messed up. Never mind. I'm gonna change that. I'm not gonna do Jack and Jill bedroom. I did this for a reason. So instead, what I'm gonna do is a 4.5 right here. I'm gonna offset 12 feet this way. 12 feet, not 12 inches. And this was supposed to be 10. What happened here?
You made that 12. You made it bigger.
Yeah, no, I made this one 12, but this wall was coming up short. Okay, there it is. So yeah, so I did a 12 by 10. This room is gonna be slightly bigger only because I'm gonna try and line it up with this back piece. That way we don't have that odd notch. Yeah. So this room will be slightly bigger. It'll be 1 foot bigger so the kids can fight over it. We know we all like that. So I did 13 this way. And then I'm gonna do 10. All right. So we have a 12 by 10 and a 12 by 13 bedroom. I'm gonna offset 4.5. And I can keep building and building and building and building. All right. I'm already gonna hit 5 o'clock, but you guys get the point of this, right?
Yeah. And I'm into like the first semester, in a sense.
Yeah, it's the same thing that happened that you guys did last semester, except now you're doing your own creations. A lot of times when you're looking at someone else's drawing and redrawing it, it's a lot easier because you already know where you're going. It's a lot more difficult when you're starting from scratch. And that's why I had you guys do the bubble sketches. So that gives you a rough idea of what you wanted. Once again, those bubble sketches can always be modified, changed, or totally scrapped and start from new. But it was just to get your creative juices kind of flowing. Now that you guys are going to be starting your floor plan, this plan, I'm giving you guys 2 weeks to complete. And don't think you're going to have 2 weeks for just the walls. All right. So this week, I recommend getting the walls up as fast as possible. Next week, I'll be showing you guys how to do something else. Well, on Tuesday, I'm gonna be going over that lecture over the PowerPoint. But the following week, I'll be going over the some extra things that you need to start adding in, like cabinetry and stuff like that. We'll start planning out the floor. But this is gonna be a little 2-week project. So your due date for this, everything complete, will be on the 28th. All right. Now, once again, don't procrastinate and be like, oh, I got 2 weeks to do that. Well, no, you don't technically, because next week I'm still going to be giving you something to add into it. All right. I won't ask for anything due. So nothing is due on Sunday, at least on the 21st. But I do expect you to be at least a good ways into your plan. All right. Does that sound good? So no due date on the 21st, but at least a decent amount of your floor plan put together already, if not all of it put together.
Are we gonna meet on Tuesday?
Huh? Are we gonna meet on Thursday? So that'll be up to you guys. Well, I'm gonna stop. Let me stop recording already. So that'll be up to you guys.